Hey guys, I'm Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com. And what you just read there on the screen is something that literally just happened and got finalized today as we're making this video. It's like January 2021. And I think I've probably made 100 videos by now and mentioned the name Leon Hubert. However, being addicted to the English pronunciation of everything as I am, the correct name for the man is Leon Hubert. And so when you hear me pronouncing his name correctly, it's something I need to do because Leon Hubert is BHSpringSolutions Chief Weapons and Modifications Designer as of January 2021. My partner Slav Bruchiev and I could not be more excited, I don't think, about any thing that has evolved with BHSpringSolutions in our 7-year history, more so than we are about this association with Leon Hubert. We're making this video to introduce you a little bit more to our Chief Weapons and Modifications Designer. Somewhere along the line in firearms development, after John Browning particularly, the times when the industry recognizes individual designers for their achievements, and it happens publicly, such as was the case with John Browning, who remained independent for his entire career. The tendency is it was designed by FN, designed by Browning, designed by Beretta, and the individual, the designer, somewhat kind of gets lost in that, and in a way that's kind of too bad, because you are going to be surprised, I think, of the firearms and the innovations that would not exist today if it were not for Leon Hubert. And when my partner and I, when we first started association with RDIH, Leon's company in Belgium, we were not fully even appreciative yet of this man's genius and his legacy. In fact, his legacy in engineering circles, his legacy in the firearms world. I had an occasion about a year and a half ago to receive a call in an official capacity from someone from our United States Defense Department, and it was in relation to our one-piece manual safety for Glock pistols, which is a Leon Hubert design. We call it the Tactical Safety System for Glock pistols. During this official call, this person that I was speaking with asked about Leon, and the conversation went to him actually quite quickly. And this man that I spoke with was literally the most complete walking encyclopedia about weaponry with our United States Defense Department that I've ever encountered in all my life. He proceeded to talk and tell me. He said, well, we would have never had the Beretta 92 if it had not been for Leon Hubert. And actually at that point I was not even aware of that fact. I'll explain that here in just a few moments, but I wanted to just go down the list of products in Leon Hubert's career that are associated with his work, his design work, or his patents. One of the things that the gentleman with the United States Defense Department said to me in this call, as we continue to talk, and a lot of it about Leon Hubert, is he made the statement to me. He said, "You do know that Leon Hubert is the most prolific designer currently breathing air, right?" And he asked me this in a way as if I wasn't aware of that, I had been asleep at the wheel for too long, and we already held, Leon in incredibly high regard, but this was a new assertion. And he proceeded to tell me with specifics the firearms that, among just about every major firearm maker in the world, that are actually an encroachment on Leon's patents in some way or another, and he knew the specific designs, the models, and the specific components and parts in the firearms that would represent a patent infringement. And so anyway, a very, very highly regarded man, and incredibly creative, and profound to us in some of his similarities that we read about John Browning. And of course, Leon was a person who sort of walked in the footsteps years after John Browning passed away. Leon Hubert started at FN, at Fabrique Nationale in Herstal, Belgium. And he was there for 35 years. He left FN in 1993, and many of his designs and the patents to them went with him when he left FN and started RDIH, which in business for 27 years. So Leon's history in the firearms industry in design spans an incredible 62 years as of 2021. That's just unheard of. And I want, as I say that, I want to emphasize this man is at the top of his game. He is in the game. His most recent design effort was a collaboration with myself and my partner Slav in redesigning the subassembly, like all of the subassembly in the high power design. And that is Leon's most recent achievement in terms of design work, is that collaboration with us. And what we found in the course of that design, and as we're making this, the announcement and the launch of that product is now imminent and literally within weeks away from being available for the first time. But I have here, and I wanted to just share this with you, the firearms and the inventions that are credited to Leon Hubert, starting with a revolver you may or may not have ever heard of, called the Barracuda. And he designed this in collaboration with Astra, and that's a Spanish Spain company, and that was designed in .357 and 9mm caliber. And we saw when we visited with Leon once, he has one of these revolvers, and it is stamped FN, and it was manufactured at FN, and a lot of folks don't know that FN ever made a revolver, but Leon Hubert designed that. In the way of pistols, Leon Hubert is credited, of course, with the Mark III and Mark III's upgrades of the high power design, with the and this is just semi-auto pistols now. FN's BDA-9, BDA-0, and BDA-9C. These are Leon Hubert as the designer. In the Browning BDA-380, which is also, with a couple of changes, the Beretta 84, or really the Beretta 80 series, period. And the FN version of that same handgun was called the FN 140DA. And the interesting history about that handgun. A lot of people say, oh, Beretta designed that and made it, and then they labeled it Browning for Browning as the BDA 380. That is not true. Leon Hubert is the designer credited with the Browning BDA 380, and from the Browning BDA 380, the Beretta 84 was derived, and that was in collaboration with Beretta. This all happened. Now here is an interesting part of history. I'm betting you never heard this before, because when you get outside of the manufacturers and the inside knowledge of who did what, and you get outside of the encyclopedia guide with our Defense Department about firearms and history and evolutions and things like this. This is very uncommon knowledge. So here's how this went and how it gets back to the Beretta 92 and the United States service firearm. Léon Hubert designed, blueprinted the Browning, what became the FN 140DA or the Browning BDA 380, just different grips. FN now has this design, and this is early to mid 70s time period, and they don't have any production capacity for this handgun, so they shopped it. And Beretta was in the market, and in collaboration with Beretta, Léon Hubert brought the BDA 380, the Beretta 84, the FN 140DA to life. Now, how that connects is you'll see in history that the Beretta 92, the Browning BDA 380, and the Beretta 84 all mysteriously came to be in 1976, the same year. If you check on Wikipedia, or if you print a schematic of the Beretta 92 and a schematic of the Beretta 84 or the BDA 380, what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of design elements and some exact parts, actually, of the BDA 380 Browning that went into the Beretta 92. The Beretta 92 would never have existed in its final form had it not been for Léon Hubert. The Wikipedia article gets most of this right. It says about the Beretta 92. What were perhaps the Model 92's two most important advanced design features had first appeared on its immediate predecessor, the 1974, which is not, I don't think that's too early, 380 caliber Model 84, or the Beretta 84. And of course we know the Beretta 84 was a directly derived from the Browning BDA 380 design of Léon Hubert's. These improvements both included magazine and barrel, which featured what was called direct feed. That is, there's no feed ramp between the magazine and the chamber. This is a Léon Hubert innovation, and it's only one thing that was basically taken from the Browning BDA 380 design, and it landed in the Beretta 92. So this is a hazard in history of getting too busy to make your own stuff, I think, because when FN shopped that and that technology went to Beretta, I think what Beretta recognized was, if FN doesn't know what to do with this, well, we sure do, and they sure did, because they took it and they ran with it, literally ran with it. My God, the Beretta 84 and the popularity of that handgun is insane. I mean, still a very, very popular handgun. And of course the Beretta 92, which arguably would just never have happened had it not been for Léon Hubert and the Browning BDA 380. But it did happen. So now you advance forward into about, say, the early 80s, and the United States is getting ready to have these pistol trials to replace the 1911. And really, some of their very best design work had left the building back in the 70s when the BDA 380 technology went to Beretta. So now, here comes the U.S. pistol trials. The really strong FN entrant in those pistol trials would have been an SFS equipped high power. The requirement from the military was double action, single action, and that kind of a thing. But you know, in today, 21st century speak, we all know that an SFS equipped high power, because it has the same trigger pull, and every pull you don't have a double action, single action, quandary. Of course, we all know that an SFS equipped high power, in terms of trigger pull, integrity, usability, it just really is the one that would have made the greatest competitor for the Beretta 92. In the course of this, Léon Hubert also created another operating system called the fast action, and it was basically for the high power pistol or a high power like pistol as well. This was a deal where you pull the trigger and that unlocked the pistol when you pulled rearward a little or fast. It would unlock and the hammer would cock itself, and then you proceed rearward and you're in semi-auto mode and you're firing. That was a system that was actually entered into the pistol trials in the early 80s, and it was immediately disqualified. They said it did not meet their request. So that one was disqualified, and there was another entrant that FN had that ultimately was disqualified. It was later found out that it had become non-functional because it had not been properly cleaned and it had fired 5,000 rounds. But that didn't play into it. In essence, what the quandary and the outcome, and by the way, Léon Hubert was FN's representative at those pistol trials in the early 80s in the United States. The Beretta 92 that he and FN had to compete against was really just full of Léon Hubert's own, work and his own technology. The big difference between, and we see this happen in evolution of handguns where you go from one designer to a different designer. So you've got this BDA 380 that Léon Hubert designed, and it goes to the Beretta 92, and they added 20-something parts to Léon Hubert's BDA 380. But it was still, obviously a very, very strong handgun, and it did win in those pistol trials. But it's ironic, really, to think how that happened, and that without Léon Hubert, the Beretta 84, the Beretta 92, these firearms would arguably not exist. Léon Hubert is credited with upgrading the Browning 22 long rifle pistol. That is John Browning's original 22 pistol. In rifles, Léon Hubert is credited with the FN riot gun, the FN sniper rifle, and the P90. That's going to be news for a lot of people there. Léon designed the P90 in collaboration with a gentleman named Mr. Rene Predacer. And while at FN, Léon is credited with high power SFS, 1911 SFS, two other SFS products that I actually have never come to market or been produced, and I can't even mention what those are right now. Ambidextrous magazine catch for high powers, 1911s, and Glock. The one-piece wraparound grip for high power. The flashlight support for Picatinny rails. The Picatinny rail for your pistol frame, your high power, or your 1911. The Picatinny rail belt holster, and we already mentioned the tactical safety system with the world's only one-piece drop-in manual safety for Glock pistols. Also, the FN FAL Picatinny rail cover, the folding buttstock for the FN FAL, and a couple of parts for an Uzi submachine gun, flashlight connection part, and a scope connection part. And recoil simulation by compressed air is a system that Léon Hubert designed and then marketed from RDIH, and several militaries, law enforcement have used that air simulation to reduce ammunition usage and give you that same kind of a recoil impulse for practice. He's done that for rifles, pistols, machine guns, including submachine guns. I'm talking AK-47s, AR-15s, Browning high powers, Glocks. This recoil simulation by compressed air of Léon's is quite a system. And that system also was made to work with video shooting technology such as CK technology, laser shot, Kodiak, and others. This is in addition to Léon Hubert's history of also having designed entire sewer systems, bridges, internal combustion, internal engine parts, and there's more. And it is. I wanted to share this with you because so you can even understand and comprehend the depth of honor that it is for BH Spring Solutions to be able to name Leon Hubert our Chief Weapons and Modifications Designer. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for enjoying this with us. I'm Mark Allen on behalf of my partner Slav Baruchiev and myself from BH Spring Solutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com. Thank you.